Hi guys, welcome to a brand new channel. I'm joined today by a very special guest, Gary Pavitt. He's coming to talk about his brand new Master System game that he's developing, and also to talk all things Master System. So Gary, first of all, thank you ever so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, the pleasure's ours. I'm sure what we're going to be talking about today is talking around very much what you've been up to. I'm looking forward to hearing about this new game. It sounds very, very exciting. What you've been covering and what you're coming up with for in terms of gameplay and whatnot for the Master System. And before we do, I was interested, I guess, to talk a little bit around the Master System first of all, why it's so important to you, and I guess your background with the Master System.
Absolutely. So, when I was 11 years old, the Christmas when I was 11 years old, my mom bought me a Sega Master System. However, I was kind of elated at that point because I was under the impression that I was going to be getting an Atari 7800. She told me that she was going to be getting me an Atari 7800 because we didn't have a lot of cash back then, and so I was fine with that. I was like, this was the days where I'd just come away from some of the micro computers, and I was really excited about the idea of being able to plug a cartridge in and instantly play a game. And so the idea of getting an Atari was still, it sufficed, and I was happy. But it turned out that my mom went to find games in the local game store, and they just were not stocking them. And so she decided to take back the Atari, and she landed me with a Sega Master System Plus on Christmas morning. So I went downstairs straight to the tree, did the unpacking, the unwrapping, and lo and behold, there was a Sega Master System there. And so that kind of moment was a real moment of like considerable joy that I got this Sega Master System, because obviously at that point in time everybody was talking about Sega and Nintendo, and now I was one of the kids in the crew. And so that moment, I think, just stayed with me for a long time. And then as I picked up some of the games, I think on that day I received Time Soldiers, and I also received Fantasy Zone, which were two pretty good games. I was pretty happy with those.
Belting games. I'd have been very pleased with those, definitely. Yeah, that's awesome.
And of course, there's the built-in games as well. So, yeah. And I remember seeing my friend had bought a magazine, and it said that there was a secret hidden game inside of that. So I was like, oh, how do you do that? Anyway, that later on turned out to be the maze game, of course. Yeah, so good memories about that day, really. And then subsequently playing the Sega Master System with a very good friend, Michael, who we were inseparable as game players back then. And we spent so much time playing on the Master System first before the Mega Drive came along later. But yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Brilliant. What were some of your favorite games as a child?
I kind of liked sort of more casual games. But I guess that I like Space Harrier.
Right.
So I liked the platformers. Obviously, I think I had. Well, you're making me think now. Psycho Fox was one,
right,
that I enjoyed playing. When Sonic came along, that was a revolutionary game, and I think that I'd stared at magazines endlessly, hoping that it was going to be good. And I think it came out on my birthday, and I got a copy of that for my birthday on release day. And so that was, a real big game in the history of the Sega Master System for me. So yeah, I really enjoyed the platformers, and I enjoyed columns. And like later on, I really appreciated some of the more technical games for example, I would say Road Rash.
Right.
That
Yeah.
is a very good conversion. Yeah, so yeah, I think those are my favorite games.
Yeah, Brill. Sonic is kind of one of those games that I think a lot of people can relate to. It was almost a phenomenon. He was an icon back in the day, back in the 90s when he came onto the scene. And I remember it was the first ever game I think that I had pre-ordered, or my mum had pre-ordered for me. And I remember getting it, and I never actually completed it. Unfortunately, I just got a bit impatient with it and moved on to other things. And I managed to complete it just this year. We ran it for the Sega Master System Challenge, and in the end, I ended up finishing it 3-4 times that week. Just phenomenal, great memories. No, that's brilliant. So
My younger brother watched me play that so much that he managed to complete the game himself when he was 4 years old.
that's phenomenal. Yeah, that's brilliant. Brilliant.
He is like to become very much a gamer, so yeah, he enjoys it.
I love that. Our family are all gamers. My girls, my son, my wife claims not to be, but she definitely is. Yeah, so a lot of us sort of tend to either play games even now, either independently or cooperatively. We do a lot of Minecraft together, that sort of stuff. How about yourself? Are you still playing games, whether it be retro or modern games?
So, because of my career path, I've been very, very much engrossed in my career, and so just a bit of a background on that. I've been a 3D programmer for much of my 20-year career, working on AAA engines. One, namely, the Gamebryo engine, and other side project type engines. I wrote my own Adobe Flash engine to be fastest in class and most fully featured engine there. And I then worked with a team called Away 3D to convert a Flash engine to WebGL, so that it can be used online. So a lot of overstepping into web technologies and things like that.
Yeah.
So because of that, I think that I've not had as much gaming as I would have liked to, but I've just recently set up an emulation box, and mostly because I'm going to be working on this game, and I want to be able to create a very, very slick development environment. So my stack there is that I'm using a Mac to remote into a Windows 11 machine, because the software development kits that I'm using are primarily based on executable Windows libraries. So we have tools for compressing tile data and sprite data, being able to do memory management. We have like a C compiler on top of the assembly compiler. So I'm going a bit technical now, but I'm hoping that some of your viewers are going to appreciate it. And I will keep it short. So
okay.
we've got like a cross compiler situation, and then I can build and launch to an Xbox S and live, so that myself and my friend are able to play the multiplayer instantly from my machine just at the touch of a button. So I'm with the Microsoft developer partner, so I can do all of that as well. So I have a very slick setup here that I would say that most people who are going to approach this kind of project are not going to really have the ability to set up. So that kind of puts me in good stead to being able to build something out in a very fast, iterative way. However, the way that I'm going to be developing the project comes in 2 phases, and I think we should talk about that later.
No, that's cool. Thank you so much. So I was going to talk about or ask about, because you're a collector as well. How's your collecting been going? What are you sort of aiming for?
Well, I'm a fan of 8 and 16-bit cartridge-based machines, really. So the majority of my collection consists of Super Nintendo, Game Boy, Sega, Mega Drive, Master System, and NES. Some of those have a wide range of in terms of the condition of them as well, because I did see them as quite an investment potential. I was always tracking the prices and thinking, these things are appreciating well, and I would rather have those games and be able to play them with my son than that money sat doing nothing in a savings account. So I think I've got a collection that's worth about £50,000 now.
Wow.
It consists, yeah, it's a large collection. And unfortunately, I moved recently, so a lot of it's boxed up. Most of it's boxed up. But I'm definitely going to be getting that Sega Master System because I have a full PAL set with some Brazilian titles, some Japanese titles, and a few homebrew there as well. I'm definitely going to be getting those out on display so that I can match the epicness of your background as well.
just modest, really. Yeah, I've not been. I mean, whilst I've been collecting on and off, again, the same since the age of about 11. It's really only the last 3 or 4 years that I've really gone for it, So, but no, that's brilliant. That's fantastic.
Well, I mean, as I say, this is an investment thing for me, really, and I have no long-term plan of keeping those games. I would say that that those, they will be sold. They were definitely not there just to amass huge amounts of silly games. But I am a player, and I did want to keep a large proportion of them, of the games that either I used to play when I was younger with my friends, or that I've always thought, oh, that's a game I really want to play. That I'm gonna keep hold of that one, and so I'm gonna let them go slowly.
Yeah, that's brilliant, and it's great that you've, I guess, realised a lot of your goals in as a collector. What I've found is once I hit and achieve one of my goals, I immediately have another, and there's always something else, and it can be a little bit of a slippery slope. You've definitely got to watch the pennies, otherwise it can get quite quickly out of check. But yeah, it's something that I've made some fantastic friends through over the last 2 years, and yeah, just a really brilliant community I've found through most of the social media platforms, to be honest with you. Although
Yeah,
I primarily focus. Sorry, say again.
I found exactly the same thing. I
Yeah.
agree. It's really about community, and this is why I really am making the game, because in sort of honor of that community in some senses, because I have no intention of making monetizing that or anything like that. It's literally to give something back. So yeah, definitely community building is wonderful.
Yeah, fab. No, that's brilliant. Okay, I'm really interested to hear about this game. So what can you tell us so far?
Well, I can't tell you very much about the second game. It's a little bit of a secret, but I can say that it has a grand scope. It's going to be an ambitious project, but the way that I'm approaching this as a whole is quite methodically. The reason is just my experience with programming over the last 20 years, like I say, as a professional programmer. So rather than so what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking on 2 sections. The first section really is about really understanding the architecture of the Sega Master System, the timings, how I can move data around in RAM, when I'm allowed to do that without corrupting the visuals and getting artifacts on screen. And so rather than spending my time designing the game, making the graphics, creating the sound and things like that, the first project would be to port an existing game so that I already have knowledge of what those assets are going to look like, what the audio is going to look like. And then I can focus purely on the actual technicalities and learning the technicalities at the low level. So there's a great website called smspower.org. They're a fantastic community of guys and ladies who are really technically able to guide me in terms of the lower level things. They've got a lot of experience with a knowledge there. So I've been talking to those people and learning and testing, and whilst I've been developing a small game which would be the sort of the Bomberman battle mode.
Yeah.
So that would be, a couple of players, both control pads, running around, dropping bombs. And so the reason why this is a really good project to start with is because the way that Bomberman works is just a grid, really, and that maps to the way that tiles work. It's very much developed around the idea of a matrix grid of cells, and so it's really excellent for me to be able to understand how to update background tiles with explosions, and you've got kind of fast moving characters moving around the screen as well, and so obviously those are sprites. And but there's not too much in terms of screen scrolling or anything like that. So everything's kind of a grid and quite simple, and it allows me to just focus on exactly what it is that is the purpose of the first project, which is to understand the architecture and how many tiles I can move at any one given time without corrupting things. Now, the second project, I would say, would be taking all of the knowledge that I learned in the first phase and creating, well, I mean, I've been on record saying I'd like to create the greatest Master System game ever made. But of course, that's very large statement. But I've also been on record saying that if I have that idea and the concept, that regardless if I do it or not, then perhaps we'll get a little bit closer.
I think if you set the bar high, then you're at the very least, hopefully at the very least, going to still come out with a very, very good game. Hopefully, and the idea sounds fantastic. I'm really excited. It sounds awesome. So with Bomberman, then how's that going, and roughly how far off do you think we are with Bomberman?
So already I have the background tiles there. I have the ability to move and update the tile maps and the sprite maps. I can update palettes. So everything's kind of moving very quickly because that's actually been done in a matter of maybe 4 or 5 weeks, and that's not full time. So I would imagine that, within perhaps a couple of months, that would be, I would hope that by perhaps the end of Christmas or the new year, that would be getting to the point where it's a playable demo and people who are in my Patreon would start getting builds, and they can be play testing them and enjoying the game. Yeah.
Fantastic. Do you think you'll be entering the SMS Power coding competition for 2023?
Probably not. It depends on when that is, because I'm not actually sure the timing of that. If it was towards the end of the year, then perhaps I could get the full second game out there, and if I could do that, then I would definitely enter it. But I have, I'm just going to be building this for fun. I'm going to enjoy it anyway.
That's fine. Yeah, absolutely. I think it comes out around, I'm thinking like February, March time, around there. But I think a lot of the coders tend to spend the whole year, because it can be quite labor intensive, just finding the time. We've all got, real jobs and whatnot, haven't we? So, but no, cool. Fab. Okay. Gary, thank you ever so much. I really appreciate you joining us today. Guys, I will include a link in the description below to Gary's Facebook page and his Patreon and anything else that we can share with you guys. Please keep your eyes peeled, and if you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. Thank you ever so much, and Gary, thank you ever so much for joining us. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Ollie. Pleasure. Bye now.
See you, buddy.